Welcome to the first initial podcast of 1004 Holds. It's Nick Growall here and around the table. I'll go to all the four corners of our little panel here. We've got Cory Williams.
Hey.
We
need the entrance music when this is edited.
Some,
I'll see you.
and then next to him is Josh Wilkins.
Hello.
And then next to him is Payton Guthrie.
Yeah, we're kind of in a circle.
Yeah, it's kind of a circle, not really a square.
Yeah, anyway, yeah.
And then next to me is Terrence Sherwood.
Hey,
so
I don't know why I'm here, to be honest.
To the voice of reason.
Yes, he's the outsider that we're introducing to the wrestling world.
I know like 2% wrestling knowledge.
It's a good gimmick.
It is a good gimmick.
I don't know what's happening.
I have no idea what's going on.
Goldberg went on that gimmick for a long time. He knew two moves.
I don't get that reference.
Just go with it.
It's more of a Eugene thing, I think.
Right. So anyway, we're here to talk about wrestling, all things wrestling. Pertaining this week, we're falling out from the Royal Rumble that happened a few days ago. Yes, that was the echoing reaction all over the world today, and yesterday, and the day before that.
Most people canceled their network subscriptions, so we actually started a podcast instead.
Yes, that was our choice.
We didn't cancel the network. We just got a podcast because that's what wrestling fans do. We complain on the internet.
That's what we should have named it. Cancel this podcast. Dang it.
We're changing the name. Hashtag cancel this content.
The name is still up in the air.
The market is now somehow wide open for this kind of content.
So anyway, let's just get started, I guess. Cory, I'll let you kind of lead the charge here.
Okay, I think the first thing we got to discuss is the positives of the Royal Rumble because there's so few.
Just get him out of the way.
Let's just get the positives out of the way. First of all, the triple threat match I think was the big shining diamond. So, what's y'all's opinions on that?
I think, it was definitely the thing that stood out amongst all the other stuff. I mean, there were some of the lower card matches; they were good, but that was definitely the one that stood out to me. Rollins just put on one hell of a show. I mean,
he looked really strong. Him just standing next to those guys, kicking out their moves and stuff. I mean, he looked like a main event player after that.
And what was interesting about it to me was that he was pulling out moves that we hadn't seen from him before. And his performance was leaning sort of towards a kind of babyface-ish.
That's always been, like, when the Shield broke up and stuff, everyone was thinking, okay, Dean's the heel, Roman will be the super mega face guy, and Rollins will be the high flyer, CM Punk / Jeff Hardy, because, like, I watched him all through ROH, PWG and stuff, watched him in NXT. He can do all these moves. You know, the Phoenix Splash, which is a move he pulled out last night, all these springboard stuff. He's got a bit of that high flyer, but still has not like a high flyer like Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
He's still 6'1", 225. Right. He has the body as well. It's like he's the perfect 5-star player, and because of the way he wrestles, even now he's a heel and stuff, he still wrestles in a way that seems like a face, and it's just
right. So you found yourself because we were cheering for him just because we didn't want to cheer for Cena.
What makes him a great heel is his character. I mean, he is the ultimate just whiny, weaselly. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, but you think about it. I mean, even when CM Punk was playing this type of role, what would happen when he came out? Cheers. I mean, Rollins is the only heel on the roster besides the Authority. So the only wrestling heel on the roster who's eliciting boos on a night-to-night basis. And it's not because he's a bad wrestler; it's because he's actually doing his job.
People appreciate him, and they're like, "Yes, yeah. it's the reverse of I don't know, just any positive chant that you could get."
I think it was cool because Sunday night, whenever this went down, I think the cool thing about him is he's been hiding behind Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, the J&J security, for however long now. Yeah. And they really didn't get that involved in that. There was just a few spots with it, but
they had to do the double decker.
Cena showing how strong.
And the double German at the beginning.
They were just kind of there for some of those cool spots. So I think that also helped make Rollins' performance that much better, even though he was already just wrestling at 100%. The fact that they really didn't get that involved, and he really carried himself with the two vets. I think that totally looked made him look great.
It transitioned him kind of from being that cowardly heel into being the fighter heel. It's like, I'm gonna stand up to you. I'm not scared of you, Brock Lesnar. And that kind of.
And when you watch SmackDown, which none of us do because no one watches SmackDown,
right?
But he has
we read about SmackDown.
we watch the YouTube videos. Afterwards.
He did this really awesome promo of Paul Heyman, like getting in his face, saying, like, "I'll take you out because then I can take Brock's this giant ball of muscle. I can beat that. You're the brains. I'll just smash your head out, and then Brock's just a big dumb animal." He's like, "I can beat a dumb animal because I'm smart." You know, so I mean, he came because WWE's big thing about heels is if you're smart, that means you're a bad guy. You know, if your answer isn't punching people in the face, you're a bad guy.
What are your thoughts, Josh?
You say that about heels, and something that I love about his character was after he got out of the ring and J&J Security are right there, and he just, I don't remember who it was, I think it was Jamie Noble, but he like kind of put his head, you know, in his chest and all that. That was just great. Like,
perfect.
Yeah, it was great heel work, and I like something. I mean, I get on Squared Circle on Reddit every once in a while. And today I was just wanted to see, you know, the backlash and the fallout. So, but you know, a lot of people talk about WWE heels and how like they have become very formulaic. But he's definitely I mean, if that is true, he's the exception to the rule. He is the most interesting heel I think that has been, you know, in the WWE for a while. And I mean, you know, some people would say that Brock Lesnar is a heel, but he's not. And that's what we talked about. He's the beast.
He's an attraction.
He's just his own.
He's not good or evil. He's just
scary.
Yeah.
He's just scary.
He's just him himself. How they're booking stuff. They're booking it like in the old territory days. Is what you do because they have every different territory, so you wouldn't see everyone. So they take a doll of the butcher. And someone in Deep South had never seen him before. He'd come in, work 3 shows, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, who's this monster dude stabbing people in the face with forks?" And then once that was over, he would go to California and do it. So he'd never wear out.
Yeah.
So if you book Brock Lesnar 6 times a year, he never loses that shock factor.
Yeah.
If he was fighting Ziggler, getting super kicked every single Monday, we wouldn't be feeling this way about him. You know, eventually that would lose its luster. But the fact that he pops up every 2 months and just drops John Cena on his head.
Yeah, as much
this is awesome.
As much like negative feedback you hear from people about Brock Lesnar's never on TV. But it's true. It is going back to that kind of mindset, and it does make him more of when he shows up. It's a big deal. It's kind of like they've been doing Sting. I mean, having Sting not be there every week. I mean, the second he pops out, like you're like me and Cory, and you turn into 8-year-old versions of yourselves and just lose your mind. But it is really smart because what that allows is for the storytelling of the people that are underneath the champion and the feuds to go on underneath it and fighting for that chance for when he does come to town, for example, you know, then it's a big deal.
Well, let me ask you guys this then. Do you think that should stay in place post-Brock, or would it only work with Brock? Like, whoever takes the belt, would it be beneficial if that belt only showed up now and then?
I think it only works for Brock just because of Brock. I mean, how many other guys on the roster have been UFC heavyweight champion? None. You know?
Give CM Punk a couple of years.
Yes.
Give Punk a couple of years.
I mean, he walks in. Like, I was reading Twitter and stuff, and people are like, Brock doesn't have to convince you he's a badass. He doesn't have to talk on the microphone.
Right.
When he walks up, people know he's a badass, and that's it. You know.
Because for example, if what has been channeled to us is going to happen, and Roman Reigns takes the title at WrestleMania, I mean, for him to not show up would kind of be counterproductive for building him up as a good champion because he's green and he needs work, and so
it wouldn't really work if a new guy, first champion, only showed up every now and then.
Right.
Well, you just said that, and it reminded me there was a Twitter exchange between Daniel Bryan and Ziggler today. Ziggler basically said, "WrestleMania, like let's do this," and DB responded like, "Yeah, I'm in." So
that'd be great.
That would be an amazing match.
Well, and you know, I saw that because I was on Squared Circle, and everybody was like, "That can't happen because you can't have one of those guys lose at Mania." I'm like, that's the
Daniel
dumbest.
Bryan's going to lose at Mania no matter who he wrestles.
It's
going to happen.
Well,
Sorry.
and that's what I would rather him wrestle someone like Ziggler, and then either at the end they do the handshake, or Ziggler turn heel or something, like a real full-fledged heel or something for his character, because they're not going to let him get over doing what he's doing right now. He's got to do something else.
And the reason why I personally, as Payton Guthrie, don't like that idea is that it puts Daniel Bryan in this weird stalling, what are we going to do with this dude? Because right now he's the elephant in the room. He's just probably one of the smallest guys on the roster, but he's the biggest problem WWE has. And if he isn't in a match, because we saw, what was it, the WrestleMania where Daniel Bryan gets bro-kicked in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
That rest of WrestleMania was just Rock being booed and people chanting Daniel Bryan. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but putting him at the beginning of the show and then losing to Ziggler isn't going to be the answer.
I've heard rumblings that
It's supposed to be Sheamus.
Daniel Bryan wants to be SmackDown, like that's his show.
Dude.
Yeah.
He wants that to be his show.
Which would be perfect because of his past injuries and stuff, taping things, his schedule's not as bad.
Right.
Especially if they kind of split stuff up, like Edge was the SmackDown guy for a long time. Undertaker was the SmackDown guy.
The brand split was awesome.
Kurt Angle, SmackDown
those
guy for
days
a long
were
time.
cool.
It creates a sense of competition within their own company, and that's what they really need, is just that separation, because they don't have. I mean, TNA and all the other groups just aren't quite up to being a rival like WCW used to be back in the day. So
I would argue with the argument that like a DB Ziggler match and one of them having to lose is a bad argument, because Mr. WrestleMania Shawn Michaels has a negative record at WrestleMania, but it's because he knows how to look good losing.
Oh,
And that's part of being a talented wrestler, is like making the match so good that whoever loses is still over. And stuff like
they
that.
would have a killer match.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he would. I think it would be a great match if he lost and stuff.
I would say Ziggler go down and Bryan go over, but that could still put Ziggler over by all means.
Oh yeah, exactly. But just
hold
from
his own.
I don't know, his Daniel Bryan's entire, obviously FERC podcast, but his entire 2 year, actually since he began in WWE, his entire struggle against you're not big enough, you don't look good enough, you're a B+ player.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's all gimmick on TV, but that's all real.
Mm-hmm.
And these people know it, because now we're in a smarter age of wrestling fans, and we read it all and stuff. And that's why he has the people who cheer for him. That's it. I mean, these people. He's a guy like all of us here,
right.
Totally.
and we all want to see him. Not all of us. I mean, some of us here don't like him. But you want to see someone. You want to see someone succeed. Fuck, man, I talk too much.
But
I love wrestling.
But the thing about it is that it's still Vince's land of the giants. I mean, Roman Reigns gets this fast track, and people like Ziggler, people like Bryan, and Ambrose even, and they're like, yeah, they're good wrestlers, yeah, they do good on the mic, but they're not quite A+ material.
They're the Roddy Pipers and Macho Mans and stuff. I mean,
go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, everybody says, Vince is out of his mind. Like, that's what people say. That's like the rumbling everywhere you go. Everywhere, anybody who knows what they're talking, out of touch. He doesn't know what he's doing, all this stuff. But I mean, in my mind, like, he could still be playing heel for all we know. Like, he knows people are going to be upset at that. Like, there's no way he doesn't know that. I mean, he may not realize that what he's doing is, not what. It's gonna. He may not realize it's gonna go the way it's gonna go in the end. He can't predict crowd reactions 100%, but regardless, he has to know what the people want. Like, I mean, maybe he's not paying attention to those things, but regardless, he's still playing the heel. Like, I mean, the day he had his face spat in by Bret Hart and all I mean. That he turned heel and he never turned back. Even the moments where he's not, a heel per se, he's absolutely just. That's what had been his character, was like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and I don't care what I'm.
Well, I mean, they also have the benefit. I will refer back to it because it's been the overarching storyline for the last 2 years. The Daniel Bryan stuff wasn't supposed to end in WrestleMania holding both titles.
Right.
It just happened that way. And then WWE can go back and retcon it. Oh, this was the story all along. We're going to have him lose all these big matches. We're going to screw him over all along. What they're really trying to do is get him off the, try to bring him down a notch. But when it didn't work, they're like, oh, let's just say this was the plan the entire time.
Right.
Which is a beautiful position to be in, because you can then change your own history. Like if you're watching the network's Monday Night Wars, the amount of stuff they just make up and change about WCW is insane.
Yeah.
But they won. WCW's not around anymore.
The winners,
to say that's
the winners of history write history.
Yeah, exactly. So. We'll come back to some of this stuff, I know for sure, but is there any more undercard stuff y'all want to talk about, like that just kind of stood out?
Oh, I'm talking again. The triple threat match versus Bombs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We already talked about it.
It was a perfect match in the sense that it was just so well executed in that everyone in that match came out better. Mm-hmm. Even Cena came out better. I mean, he was in a great match, which kind of he gets knocked a lot for being limited, but he pulled out some stuff. His psychology was good. Just doing 3 AAs on Lesnar, and just that whole spot was awesome.
And Lesnar sold that so well, like by not selling.
Yeah, it was just so like Seth Rollins comes out, he's made now as far as I'm concerned. Like he can't really go back down to mid card after that. Like he carried that match was kind of on his.
He's still got the briefcase too, so
and he's still got that. And then Lesnar, they actually found a way to like take Lesnar kind of out of the match a lot and make it just 2 guys and. It was just a really, really well-constructed match that everyone came out on.
I mean, the reason why I liked it a lot is that when you compare it to other WWE matches, or just even the matches that night, it wasn't a WWE match.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it felt more like a new Noah match or a New Japan Pro match. I mean, they just started off, instead of the whole, 10 minutes of, we got to fill each other out, and all 3 of us have to lock up. It's just Brock Lesnar's throwing bombs at people. Just, boom, let's go. And WWE doesn't do that very often.
Right.
No.
And you can tell Brock's time, because when he left WWE, he didn't go straight to UFC or anything. Spoiler alert. He wrestled for New Japan Pro, won their heavyweight championship, and he wrestles in a much more strong style, Japan style, where it's just, knock me out, let's go. And it helps his character out brilliantly.
Because that is true. The WWE format for wrestling you can, especially when you look at the Divas division, it's so formulatic. How do you say
that?
No, that's close enough, dude.
Yeah.
That's a gimmick.
I got it. That's my gimmick.
Slightly pronounced.
Slightly pronounced words.
Pronounced.
It's just
a gimmick for a while.
Yeah.
Living the gimmick.
The roast is still Friday. But it's just the same thing. I mean, we always joke about it every week on Raw, or just when the Divas come out. Oh, I wonder who's going to get rolled up this time on a pin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely. You pointing that out definitely makes me realize, that was. I mean, because the second it went, they kind of looked at each other and then just went boom, and Rollins jumps out, and all of a sudden he's doing suplexes. And
it's a 30-minute train ride right after that.
Oh yeah, it was good. Any quick thoughts on pre-show? Tyson Kidd, New Day.
Cesaro, the man.
Yeah,
King
Cesaro
of Swing.
Kid.
Let's go. Woo!
Payton's all for Cesaro.
And that's the dude. He's just so good.
I hope that it means with him teaming up with Kidd gives him another chance for a push. Because, I mean, he's not as good on the mic as he could be, but with Kidd with him put together, their combination and just skill plus, getting heat off of each other really works well together. And I loved just how creative their match was. They were pulling out all their combo moves, as well as just the spot at the end where Cesaro tried to help Kidd with the pin, by stretching out. I thought that was creative.
I liked you actually showing us for the podcast.
Yes, I was illustrating in the real world forever.
I mean, you just have to watch Cesaro matches, and you'll just fall in love. Don't care about his promos and stuff. Watch the United States title, Ziggler versus Cesaro 2 out of 3 fall.
Oh yeah.
And he does this amazing superplex by carrying Ziggler up the top rope and has him in the cradle and pops out and stuff. I mean, wrestling fans want to see. I'm now speaking for everybody. Wrestling. And Cesaro's probably the best wrestler in the world. He can do everything. But that amount of size and strength and still agility, it's hard to come by, and it bothers me as a fan that you don't see it more often.
What about you, Josh?
I agree. I'm still talking about that match, the tag match. I'm still frustrated that it wasn't a 3-on-3 match. Why would they just?
Why is Adam Rose just hanging out?
Yeah,
and why is Xavier just sitting on the sideline?
What are some quick thoughts on Adam Rose? I'm just curious.
I like Adam Rose.
I like the wrestler. I loved him in NXT when he was just a serious dude.
Like Leo Kruger?
Yeah, Leo Kruger. Awesome. Yeah, I don't like the gimmick. I thought it could have been cool. They just, NXT has this boiling area where things just kind of germinate.
Yeah.
And the rosebuds and stuff were awesome there because they each had a different story. If you remember all this stuff, like, because now it's just the bunny has a story.
Yeah.
But then they all had kind of different backgrounds and stuff. But now that's local talent from different places, he kind of loses his likability. And once you stop getting TV time, promo time, you're just done.
Had he done the thing where he just like, I mean, they kind of hinted at it with the bunny storyline, and you know where he was just kind of losing it. He kind of started looking like he wasn't getting enough sleep, maybe a little too much partying.
Back at it. It's like he's in the Kruger.
But that's the thing. It's like I think that's where his character is going, but I'm afraid he's not going to get the time and resources to do it, to where you actually see this man go from like party animal to where he's just a rundown, bitter, like whatever, you know. Like I mean,
that would be cool. Like if they made him like a modern day Jake the Snake,
that
goes through rehab and stuff.
Yeah, no, basically, make him like the rock star, the washed up, burnout rock star. Like that is where his character could go, and it could essentially just be Leo Kruger, but through the lens of Adam Rose. Like, I mean, insides.
I like Adam Rose. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
It just sucks that
he just has the worst.
Bombed a little bit.
Well, he got introduced and he never really had a great feud or anything. And he would come out and do his thing, and his matches were no longer than 5 minutes, and he'd pull the party foul, and then it'd be over with. And then,
I mean, that's the formula. Like, look at. They did the same thing with Bo Dallas and stuff. It's like, we'll give him a pusher 3 weeks, and then, okay, we're going to freak out, and all of a sudden he's not doing anything anymore. And I love Bo.
Yeah.
I'm a Bo leaver all the way.
The first time he came out, I just, like, died laughing.
Oh, Nick's a total mark for
just like,
Bo Dallas. He was just like...
I couldn't help, just because of how he just plays the audience. I was just like, this is brilliant. He's just... And how he'll
he's
just
the
diss
heel who
people.
thinks he's a face.
Yeah.
He played that so well. I mean, he did.
There's the idea of like I think it was on Reddit, like Bo should have gotten a submission move, and that should be his finisher. And the entire time he's like, "Don't give up! Don't give up!"
That would have been so over.
I want to see that now.
Oh, man. I hope that happens.
But like you said, WWE, the very best thing they do is 3-on-3 matches. Like look, the Wyatt family for the Shield and stuff. That's how Roman got over.
That was 2014.
That's how he got through. They're great at 6-man tags, and it is weird they didn't do it.
There was like rumblings for a while they were going to bring back the 6-man tag belt or something. They were going to bring like because
that'd be cool.
Like WCW or someone had one like briefly, like a 6-man tag team belt.
It's kind of like they don't want people getting too invested in the lower card, and like even once you get into mid card, it's like they don't want people getting too invested in those storylines. And I think even that's why all these like top tier guys are taking a back seat right now, is because you've got, I mean, supposedly it's going to be Triple H and Sting, right? Like, I mean, that's the buzz is. So, like, they're like, oh, we got to make sure that's the thing. We got to make sure, Roman, all that's good. I mean, they are so, like, just, you can only think of one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Minded, whatever. They don't treat it like, all these people are actual wrestlers who have real things going on. Like,
they have motivation.
Yeah, like, I mean, you give them a character. Well, if you're going to give someone a character, let them react in that character. Let them, just interact with whatever storylines are going on, whatever's going on around them. I mean,
and part of it,
good storytelling.
Like the writers and stuff, I'm trying to put some sort of logic to it. Just trying to say your gimmick.
Sorry.
But I think they don't want you invested because at any point in time they're like, okay, we need someone for Cena to be at this main event. Okay, let's jumpstart Cesaro, have him win like 2 or 3 matches in a row, get him real hot,
and feed him.
Then
to
boom,
Cena.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they're going to feed Rusev to Cena.
Yeah,
because Cena needs that.
Cena
needs to go
Cena
over
needs
Rusev. Like,
it'd be brilliant though. If Cena taps,
that'd be cool.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, if he passes out,
then
it's just
but if he passes out,
whatever.
Like,
That was a wanking motion. Sorry, podcast.
In the first one, if he passes out in the first match, he passes out in the rematch. I mean, they could do things with it. That's the thing, is like there's always possibilities. There's always new ground to tread, and the WWE is so scared of that. It's like they literally just like just beat that dead horse as much as they can.
They are terrified of life after Cena, and because they're they like last year they had Wyatt versus him, and Wyatt was white hot at that point, and then
should have gone over.
And now he's
what is Wyatt now?
Honestly,
hopefully
he's kind of recovering, but at the same time
that's kind of on the Rumble because he was all over that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they're afraid. Sorry, but I don't think they're afraid of life after Cena because they've got the new guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be Roman, and Vince has stated this.
I hope that's not.
Well, he stated this. I mean, why care about the people in the arenas? You have their money. You're always going to have their money. He needs to think about the moms and the dads and the kids who are watching that TV. Daniel Bryan's not going to be in a Subway commercial. Roman Reigns will. I mean, that's the difference. He's like The Rock, but bigger, but can't talk. So,
but that's the thing is when you had The Rock, who was the guy? Was it The Rock or was it Stone Cold?
It was both.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there doesn't have to be the guy.
Yeah.
And even as much as they want to push Reigns, like if he doesn't catch on, if his merchandise starts to taper off, if he's not putting butts in seats, then it's going to be a no-brainer at some point. I mean, they ran with Lex Luger for a while back in the 90s. That was just a mess, I mean, they were kind of forced into that. That's a different situation, I understand.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that was the guy. We were like, we're running with him. We're going with Luger, and it was just...
I think I'm glad you mentioned Stone Cold and Rock because I think one of the biggest problems that you have in WWE is that there's this attitude that like a wrestler could come in and be told immediately, you're a mid-carder. Don't think about going up. It's like you get assigned out the gate now. Whereas Stone Cold and Rock were both mid-carders. They both organically got over. He started out as a ringmaster and just got himself over. The Rock started as, Rocky Maivia. And kind of the same thing, as The Rock kind of came out and helped Roman, Rocky Johnson used to go out there and kind of try and put the Rocky Maivia over. But they were mid-carders that got over because it seemed like back then you could be a mid-carder and have a shot. But now it's like WWE is like Ziggler, Ambrose, guys that are supposed to be mid-carders coming in and getting these huge pops. They're like, that's not how it's supposed to go. So stop cheering. So we're going to just knock them out and kind of dump them over. So of the Rumble.
WWE at the time, WWF at that time, was in the war.
Yeah.
And they had to find stuff that worked. Now you don't necessarily have to find things that work.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't have to worry about Zig.
Yeah.
Back then it's like, let's see if the Stone Cold guy can get us a rating win this week. Back then it wasn't that way. Think of Mankind. Zero chance he's even... Well, I take that back. Kevin Owens is in NXT. So maybe a Mankind can make it in WWE, but he's not winning championships in today's world.
Josh is watching it. Hair fly through the air.
But even then, you can look at what's considered the wars and the golden age of wrestling when it was just the biggest thing ever. The mid card was freaking exciting. It didn't even feel like it was a mid card, because you had like your tag teams and Edge and those dudes. They're considered mid card, but they're probably pushing just as much merch as like probably a top guy today is. They were just. It's huge.
It's just like any storytelling. I mean, any movie, like, okay, you have the main character, the good guy, the bad guy. Yeah. What about the supporting cast? If you have a terrible supporting cast, it's all going to fall in on itself.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think
you're drifting into your other podcast.
Oh, sorry.
You've got to think about how the war started and how that's shaping Vince now. He started losing when Michaels and Brett were the main guys. Yeah. And they had these other small guys who were great wrestlers. Maybe not I love Michaels to death. I think he's my top 2 wrestler of all time. But he's not The Rock on the mic, But he could get his point across. But that's when he was losing, and they were losing to Hollywood Hogan. And they're listening to this, and look at the wrestlers who brought them out. Rock, what is he? 6'3", 260. Stone Cold, 6'1", 250. Triple H, 6'3", 255. These huge dudes, and then that kind of in his mind thought, I was able to bury another company by sticking to my,
But that's the thing is they were big dudes, but they had even bigger attitudes. And that's what Seth Rollins has. Like, I mean, he's not like the biggest dude in the world, but like he has the attitude and the fire that he needs. Dean Ambrose, like it's there, like it's it's on the cusp. Like if they could just give him something to run with, like. They have these dudes, but Roman's not one of them. Roman's just a big dumbass. You know, I mean, like he really is. Like he's so awkward on the mic.
I think the best thing that they can do with Roman is not let him talk. Let him kind of have a mystique to him, just where he comes out, kicks ass, and then moves on.
Oh, that's something somebody was talking about. Was I actually said, I was like, they need to turn Roman heel, like, or they should have turned him heel at the Rumble. Like, let him go over, but turn him heel in the process.
Yeah.
Like, where's the swerve? Like, I love the swerve. You know,
He should have put an audible, like just called an audible right there in the ring and
You're
like
going
taken
heel.
out Rock.
Oh.
like,
But as soon as I said that, there were people just, replying, don't turn him heel. WWE doesn't know how to handle heels. They'll make him, a weasel. They'll make him cheat all the time. He won't look strong
you
anymore.
don't have to.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing is like, just because WWE always does that with their heels does not mean that's what they should keep doing. And that's the idea, is to do something different.
Because Seth Rollins, while he's 6'1", he's my height, I think. How tall are you? 6'.
5'10",
but Cena's 6'1",
and
and
on the gas station.
then,
Are we lying about our height now?
This was
he's not.
welcome
He's not.
to person lying about your height.
I'm
podcast.
6'1".
I weigh 580 pounds, so...
But he's not the biggest guy. He's not the tallest guy. But so he's a little slimmer, and so he can play that weasel, that kind of runaway type of heel. But he can also come in at the same time, like he did at the Rumble, and say, "I'm going to stand up and fight. I'm sick of this. I'm going to do what I'm here to do," and that's put on a great match. And so, but with Roman, it's like his whole push is based off his look. He just has to come out and just Superman punch somebody, and that's intimidating enough as it is.
But he's got the moves. He's got the Superman punch. He has the spear. He has the apron drop kick. I mean, he's got the, like, we all love the Undertaker and stuff, but Undertaker had old school, had the choke slam.
And I think that's a good...
If you have your 4 or 5 moves, like Cena, 5 moves of Doom or whatever, but if you have your 4 or 5 spots, he can stumble through a match,
Yeah.
And I think the Undertaker's a good template
Undertaker
for them.
was dreadful when he first started.
Yeah.
Just bad.
Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this next one because I want to get to the Rumble. But Ascension, what are our thoughts on Ascension going over New Age Outlaws?
Had to be done.
Yeah,
It had to be done.
It really did. I mean, you could see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Too.
I wish they squashed them faster.
Yes.
Honestly.
I really did too. And I mean, they still looked really strong and all that. But I mean, just JBL's been just busting their chops week after week since they showed up.
Yeah.
And so you knew, I mean, something was going to happen, and that's what that was the first positive response JBL has had to them. So you knew something was. You knew they were going.
My question is, are they going to continue this whole? We're going to beat up all these legends. Or are they going to actually throw them into the tag team circle, I guess, and just let them compete with the actual current stars that are in there?
I think. I know that, like, apparently Trips is over NXT and Vince is still holding control of Raw and stuff like that. But there seems to be this... Obviously, these NXT guys aren't going to get over right away with Raw because it's obvious Raw viewers aren't typically NXT viewers. They seem to be, like, their own different demographics as well. You do have the rare cases like us marks and smart fans and stuff that do watch both, keep up with both. But it seems like you have, like, Adam Rose and Bo Dallas and now the Ascension. They'll throw in these NXT guys, and when the pop doesn't happen immediately, like, Vince is expecting that everyone here watches NXT, and they're over there. They're like, okay, well, we gotta kill this. We gotta kill this push.
Yeah, well, time to go into, like, insider baseball type of thing here. The rumors are that ever since our Evolution, when everyone's like, this is the best thing ever, and then whatever WWE pay-per-view was after that, and it kind of sucked. TLC, and it was kind of...
Oh, yeah, it's like in the same week.
But
Yeah.
the rumors were Vince was angry that people liked NXT better than Raw, and that kind of soured him on all NXT people. He's like, they're really not that good and stuff, and like, so when he comes over, people are thinking, like the rumored Neville gimmick is that he's supposed to be Mighty Mouse.
Like he's going to try and bury Neville right away.
Yeah, just because it's like, I'll show you, these guys actually suck. So it's strange that there's some sort of internal conflict kind of amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And also the Ascension, Illuminati confirmed. But like that, I know we all hate non-finishes and stuff, but they really should just attack them before the bell and just destroy the New Age Outlaws, put them in chairs and stuff, do them stuff, and then basically come out and said, we didn't even have to have a match with them because they're whatever. And then you can string that out some.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest, New Age Outlaws is, the only old tag team?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Goldust.
they could bring APA back, I guess, for Fastlane and go over other legends, but I don't know. I like the Ascension. I hope that they stick with him a little bit rather than just kill it just because fans right away didn't.
Who do they have to throw at him, though? Like, who's tagging right now besides the Usos,
the Dust Brothers,
Los Matadors?
Who quit?
Did they quit too?
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they're one of the three.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One of the three. Two of the three.
I honestly say throw Kid Cesaro at him, but make it a match where everyone comes out looking great and actually making the tag team look good. Let's throw some fire into the tag team division and eventually get the freaking belts off the freaking Usos.
They have too many things in the tag teams. What are they going to do with New Day? What are they going to do with Ascension? They have to start making that. Well, if they go heel, then you have the Ascension, who's the heel team. Cesaro and Kid, who's a heel team.
That's true.
New Day, who's a heel team. Goldust and Stardust, who are a heel team.
Are they
the
heel?
Miz down, stuff, they're a heel team. The only face tag team
is the Usos.
Are the Usos.
That's true.
They're the Cenas of the tag team division.
Ooh. Oh, okay, sorry.
So, next topic.
Anyway, we're all in agreement the Ascension should keep going, and we were pro them going over.
Definitely.
It did suck that Road Dogg and Billy Gunn got any offense in, but so let's just hop on it because the Divas match, we're just mad because Paige wasn't in it long enough. But let's go to the Rumble. Rumble.
Okay.
Thoughts on the Rumble?
That's still going on, technically, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a theory. Curtis Axel is never got in. He should still be legal.
Technically,
Curtis Axel should be in the main event with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
There's your swerve.
That's a swerve.
I really thought it was going to happen. I thought it was just going to be this big thing just to piss everybody off even more. Everybody's so unhappy that it's Roman, and then all of a sudden you have Curtis Axel come out there, and then he wins the Rumble, and that's what we get.
It would have made us probably pro Reigns. That one knew.
People would have cheered.
They'd be like, yes.
Well, they kind of tried to do something along those lines at the end,
Rusev,
Yeah. He rolls in oh, wait, he was gone, but no, seriously, you had a whole other guy who didn't even make it into the ring.
Is technically, I think, should still be considered legal.
I think so. Maybe there's an unspoken rule that if the next entrant can get in the ring before you're able to, that you're
yeah, I guess when your Edge snuck into the elimination chamber just because he beat Kofi Kingston on the ramp and then ran into his pod. So I guess that's the rule in some of these matches. If you get there first,
you're done. You're in.
So at Mania, Daniel Bryan just has to beat Roman Reigns to the ring.
Welcome to WWE, where the rules don't matter and the titles are made up.
Yeah. So I hope this is how the meetings go. So if Bryan just beats Reigns to the ring, he's in.
You hear they're all in big looks. Maybe, I'm not for sure. Let me check this.
Someone
check the rules.
Bring us the tomes. Bring the scrolls.
The wrestling bylaws.
Just
the tag team scrolls have been missing forever. No one's really sure the rules.
It's the crinkling.
My thought on the booking of it was, the first half I thought was interesting. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was well paced at first, but then it seemed like right after Daniel Bryan got kicked out by Bray Wyatt, all hell broke loose, and it was just. And
it killed a lot of momentum for a lot of people because there's so many Daniel Bryan marks out there. The yes chant is huge. Everything that happened with WrestleMania last year. He's just he is what a lot of people. He's their John Cena.
I'm still trying to keep the no chant alive myself.
He still does it. Do you want to see this? Yes. Or no.
And
it's the easiest chance of all time.
Yeah, that just killed so much momentum. It wasn't a wise decision, but it is what it is.
On top of that, it was after that. The next big person that got a pop was Dean Ambrose, and he was in the mid-20s or
He's like
something.
25, I think. with
And
Dean
so
Ambrose.
between there, you just had a bunch of big dudes and nothing really going on. It was just kind of stumbling over in corners, kind of.
There was a lot of huge dudes in the
Yeah.
match at one point.
And it just
It's
dragged
really
at that
slow.
point.
You're
Yeah.
like, man, there's a lot of big guys up in here. The Rumble was weird booking, like, right? It's just the whole thing was kind of booked weird, but they also booked it weird in Philadelphia, of all cities.
Yeah.
Where you would
Yeah,
think,
no.
because WWE knows their cities, and they should have known better to try half the crap they did.
I'm telling you, they knew it is. If they're playing it's
just-
this new mind game. And I won't use the term kayfabe 2.0 because that will get you crucified in some circles. But it is this like new sense that kayfabe extends beyond just what happens in the ring or backstage or whatever. And there's this idea of everything. I mean, we know it's getting booked. I mean, even Triple H breaking character to hug a kid. Like that's a sign of the times. It's a different wrestling world, and when you do have that added in the equation, you talk about anything that happens outside of the ring. Well, what was it? There was something in the news recently that was wrestling related, and then now you have the Rumble backlash, and it's in the news, and those are things that WWE counts on. They know that that's going to happen. That's free publicity for them. The negative publicity sometimes brings in more viewers than the positive stuff because people are like, oh man, everybody's so upset about this thing. Like, it must matter. Like, there's something that matters there because people are upset about it. So in essence, it's bringing in new viewers. And the network, I got an email today. The network just hit 1 million subscribers.
Which is brilliant to do because they
Yeah.
just got the Europe numbers.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's just, I mean, I think that they do have people behind the scenes who know what they're doing, and to an extent, I'm not going to say that Vince is a mastermind, but he has people working for him, and collectively, it is possible that the WWE has masterminded this plan. So because one of the great things about wrestling is that you punch them in the gut, you make them hate the heel or whoever or whatever's going on. You just keep giving them this shit, and they're like, oh, this is awful, 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 and then eventually they get the payoff, and the payoff in this day and age of wrestling is vastly different than it was in the 90s or the 80s. Like, it's a different sort of thing, and a lot of times it happens organically. Like, I mean, we kind of just, there was an uprising, I mean, for Daniel Bryan, like,
Yes,
that
man.
in of itself, that whole thing that happened wouldn't have happened if it weren't for just the fans rallying behind somebody. So in essence, it's almost like the WWE saying, we're just going to keep giving you garbage because we know you'll come back.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're going to tell us, no, we're tired of all this. This is exactly what we want. And then we're going to give it to you because we've been telling you what we're going to give you every step of the way for the past however long. That's one of the biggest things that pisses me off about the Rumble is that everybody knew Roman was going to win. He was on all the posters. He was in every promotional thing I saw as, like, the last image you see. Like, I mean, that was it. And so that's...
Do you think it's possible that Nick McMahon is just being a heel and giving us these horrible, horrible pay-per-views over and over again? Eventually it's going to lead to a match against Triple H and winner gets to take over and he's just going to pass the torch. Triple H. Triple H is going to be pro NXT Next Movement thing.
It could happen. Like, that's what we don't know. Like, we see so much, so little of the game plan. But that's the problem is within that little part of the game plan, there is so much time as a viewer. There's so much time in there, and it's just like pulling teeth sometimes. Like, to get from point A to point B, and it's like all WWE is worried about is the Z. Like, and it's like, I just want something to get me through that's,
Yeah.
And my main issue with the Daniel Bryan elimination, whatever, I'm just down, sad, heart frowns.
I feel you.
Payton's
I feel you.
upset. You can't really see it, but he's
Yeah,
upset.
I'm very, very somber. But the problem is that, let's take it back. So we were mentioning WWE at the moment really just only writes for the main event, right? And everything else is kind of crap, or just don't know what they're doing. It's kind of thrown together. You go back to Shawn Michaels' last one. Undertaker was the champion and stuff. Shawn Michaels is like, okay, in order for me to get the rematch, I have to win the Royal Rumble. And so there's a thing there. And then he loses, but the announcers played it up. It's like, oh no, he lost. What's he going to do now? How is he going to come back? And then Daniel gets knocked out. Oh, Daniel's eliminated. Dang. And Daniel stands up and walks off. There wasn't like a big thing made about it. And that's the part that I think mainly a lot of people are upset about. And I understand why they did it. It's like, okay, let's get him out. Let's put him in the Rumble so people can't complain about him not being in the Rumble.
Right.
Like, get him out of the way. Because if Roman was the one who tossed him over at the end, death.
Yeah.
He cannot be a face at that point in time. He is heel. You have to go into the WrestleMania as Roman as a heel if he tosses him over. There's just no way.
Yeah, you have to create that grandeur. Like, that's part of wrestling, is creating that around every bit of it. The atmosphere, every bit of it is controlled like that. And once you let something fall flat like that, you're screwing someone over.
Yeah, because once you have Michael Cole's shrill voice going, and Daniel's been eliminated. Okay, guys, what's Bray Wyatt doing? It's like
I'm not huge on Daniel Bryan. Like I wasn't. I wanted him to lose to Triple H last year at 30, just because I think that they would have burned the place to the ground. I think it would have been the biggest heel heat ever if Triple H had gone over, and I just wanted to see it. And my thing is, I really didn't want him to win because I'm getting sick of WrestleMania repeats. It seems like there's been a trend since 25. We had 2 Taker Michaels, which were great. I was okay at that point. But then Triple H, of course, had to get in on the Taker action. We had to have 2 of those, which ended up being
dreadful. Yeah,
which I didn't like, despite everybody was like, these are the greatest. I was like, these are kind of dumb.
They're wrong.
Everyone, I just thought everyone was like, these were great matches. It was the end of an era.
Let's hit finishers and lay on the ground for a while.
So I didn't like that. And then then we had the once in a time live match twice. Yeah, and stuff like that. So I'm getting sick of the repeats. So I don't want to see Daniel Bryan main event 31 again myself. I don't want to watch the whole Cinderella story of Bryan working his way back into a match per se. But because a lot of what I've read, researching this, is everybody's like, Bryan deserved his Rumble win, his long sought after Rumble win. I was like,
he won the championship. He doesn't need the Rumble.
He got his huge moment. He's over and everything. And I would have definitely been Bryan over Reigns. I'm not gonna even lie there. But I think it was bad that Bryan was in the Rumble for maybe 5 minutes or 10 or something like that. It wasn't long.
You just can't treat your giant stars. As much as WWE doesn't want to admit he's a giant star, he's a giant star.
He should have gone Final Four. He should have gone to the Final Four, for sure. I think it would have been cool to see him in the Final Four and get tossed out towards the end. It makes it more memorable. It kind of carries the story a little bit. It gave you hope a lot of the way. It made the ride more fun.
The booking should have been entirely differently. But if they could have done something like Ambrose or Ziggler or Cesaro, someone who is a fan favorite, who's been over at some point in time, yet has been buried. If they had just done that, Swerve, he wins the Rumble. Holy shit! How can you imagine the response from the fans there? And if you have that many people on TV yelling and screaming and being excited about it, it's gonna be a huge deal for the people who are already. It's kind of back to what I was talking about. It's gonna be a big deal for the people who are already invested, but it doesn't get you that exposure. It doesn't get you in the press. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, mid-card just won the Royal Rumble. That means nothing to the outside of the world. But when it's millions of screaming fans are angry and hashtagging, I don't even remember.
Cancel.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And it's about the business. It's what's best for business. It really is.
Well, I will say that when you really start breaking down things that have broken into the mainstream, it was Punk. John Cena.
Punk was the biggest story of 2014.
Undertaker losing to Brock. You know who that wasn't? Wasn't John Cena. It wasn't Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar destroying John Cena 16. That stuff, remember the Punk thing led Sports Center. Undertaker losing was mentioned on ESPN, Sports Center.
They don't like to acknowledge
the
wrestling.
The Daniel Bryan thing was written about on Grantland and stuff. Cena's not.
Yeah.
Roman isn't. You know, these people who are like, oh, these are meal tickets, these are our mainstream guys. They're not actually being written about.
Right. And well, Cena's the Make-A-Wish guy. Like, I mean, that's what he's there
That's
for.
the one
He's
thing they kind of got him on.
But no,
Yeah.
the Punk podcast, he debunks that. He's like, you know, Daniel Bryan's doing just as many, but you don't hear about it. He's like, I did just as many as Cena did, but you don't hear about it because he's the one he needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
You know, when you're
I knew
releasing,
that.
when you're the one who's releasing information, you can make anyone look great.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course. That's,
The thing about the Rumble, and like we said about Daniel Bryan's early elimination, just back to what you said, there was no point to it. It was just, I'm in, and then,
I'm gone.
oh, you're gone. And the thing about Rumbles of the past is, it's the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. They shoved that down our throats, yet the only thing they set up was the main event of WrestleMania. Even the kind of the tease of the Dust Brothers going at each other, the Miz and Mizdow thing, like there was no definite like, oh, they're mad at each other. It's definitely going to lead to this. Like they could next week be like best buddies again.
Yeah.
well,
And-
now we missed a Raw, so we don't even know.
And,
Like,
Yeah.
and then, but
we still have time.
yeah,
I mean, this time now is usually when the best stuff stops happening. These
Yeah.
next month and a half,
Mm-hmm.
when all the good shit's going to start happening. First curse word, I think. Bam, go me. But we got to figure out what Daniel's doing. We got to figure out what Randy Orton's doing. We got to figure out what Sheamus is doing.
Right.
Apparently, he's coming back.
Apparently.
We got to figure out what Cena's doing. What Rusev is doing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have so many players, and the only thing you have set is the main event.
yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are about to start happening, and it could start picking up. It always does. Road to
Yeah.
WrestleMania always
I
does.
think, I think the
Yeah.
weird thing right now, though, is that it's like they set the WrestleMania main event, and they've never done that post-Rumble before. They always say Elimination Chamber, because
Yeah.
that was always before. But it's almost like Fastlane doesn't exist.
Right.
And
It's
there's
just
like,
a
they're like, no, there's nothing that can affect the outcome of
Because what's
WrestleMania.
Roman going to do?
Yeah.
for
Does
Fastlane?
that
Who's
have?
he gonna fight?
But
Probably
Fastlane,
Big Show.
do we know what that
God.
name means? Because to me, that means that like it's essentially it could provide an opportunity for someone to go from nothing to main eventing WrestleMania.
That's cool.
It's called Fastlane. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility. We don't know. Like they probably do have some surprises up their sleeves, and I mean, they have to because, like I say, they had to have known. Like you said, they're in Philadelphia. They've got this huge, smart crowd.
Well, they knew because they had Rock on standby. They knew that.
Yeah.
And again, the Rumble seems like the thing that you could easily audible at any time. You could, because you have announcers with earpieces in, you have refs with earpieces in, and all this stuff. So at 18, when the crowd just boos the ever living crap out of the guy going over, I'm like, I'm probably if I'm Vince McMahon, like, all right, this guy can't win.
Yeah.
Like this is bad. But the fact is, they knew it wasn't because they had Rock, his family, and I'm doing air quotes because I don't think they're blood related
I'm
in
pretty
any
sure it's
way.
more like marriage.
Yeah, I think somehow the Mavias are like married into the Inouye family, but so like
Hold on a second. You know the family names?
Inouye and
Jesus Christ.
so anyways, yeah, like, I'm a nerd.
Yeah,
But
this is where they live.
they had The Rock on standby, and I think that hurt Reigns even too.
Yeah, he didn't say that. Did not help him. It didn't say
No.
anything.
Well,
It
I
was
think,
hilarious.
Yeah.
With the look on the Rock's face.
I know.
With, oh my
Post-match,
god.
he's just
I'll
like,
Honestly, I
afterwards.
don't ever remember ever being booed this bad, except when I was wearing like blue like sequins. Like I remember that, but it was bringing back a lot of like bad memories from the Peter Maivia days or the Rocky Maivia days. He was just like, "What is this?"
I mean, and you talked earlier about like investing and stuff. They invested in Ziggler. Who won SummerSlam?
Yeah.
But then they just said,
Who-
"They're like, ah."
Who came back 3-1 to win SummerSlam?
No lie, yeah.
Ziggler. But do they ever mention that? No, because
Well,
it all
look
came
at
about John
Survivor
Cena.
Series. Who came back to save the
Yeah,
everyone
so
from the
Survivor
authority?
Series. Yeah.
Sting.
I had it all wrong. Yeah,
What's
Sting did.
But Ziggler, there's no Ziggler. There's no win over the authority.
I feel like Cena's gonna go like down as the next Hogan for not the right reasons. Because even Hogan isn't like necessarily considered the most positive guy in wrestling history. He's
true.
kind of like now like, okay, you were a legend, but you're also like, it's kind of come to light that you were like the biggest politicker backstage ever.
You were also in
And they're all-
Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like
How
Cena's
to
going to go
apologize.
down the same thing. It's like if someone got a win over Cena, he always got it back type thing, you know, because it's like Ziggler went over and saved Team Cena, but so Cena's like, I don't know if it's going to come back on him whether he had a part of it or not. But a month later, he had to save Ziggler's job.
Yeah.
You know, type thing. So Ziggler now is back on Cena's level.
I mean, it's really interesting because Cena, as much as, I mean, he's a hard worker and stuff, I'm just not the biggest fan of his work, but he's going to be the most interesting test case going forward.
Yeah.
Because the people in the back and stuff, Triple H's lost power now and booking power and stuff now, and I don't think they want him getting 16 and 17, you know? They don't want him beating Ric Flair's record.
Right.
So what's Cena going to do for the next 5 years, honestly? He's still only like 36, and
Because he could do
Taker
more
went
than
until
that,
he was
but,
like
yeah.
46 or something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, he's still got 5 to 6 years of wrestling. What is he going to do? Like, that's going to be a very interesting test case.
That is true. Because I don't think he should get 16, 17, and I think that'd be a really weird decision.
But the moment Reigns, let's say, because, you know, insider baseball, Brock's gone after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. Unless they sign a contract, he's gone. But it's to say if Roman gets 2 months in and ratings are kind of dropping, people are doing, put it back on Cena. You know, that's what it's going to be. He's the guy they put in the microwave saying, save us, please.
yeah.
Because I had friends who've been, because when they go Oklahoma City and Tulsa, they call the local wrestlers. And some of my friends were there. And Cena is like a god. He walks in the hallway. Everyone stops what they're doing, puts down everything, shakes his hand. How you doing? Thank you so much for saving my job. And that's how it is. He walks through there, and it's like, you know, he's the face that runs the place, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, you have to understand, like,
It's
weird.
When the Authority, you know, they did the storyline and the Authority was banished, and, you know,
Yeah, for
only
a
John
whole,
Cena could
60
bring it back.
days.
Yeah, and I genuinely thought that that maybe, you know, that they were like, okay, well, we can still do stuff with Cena, but we can put him in this, like, authority figure where he's now the positive authority, you know, like, and I really hope for something like that, and I still hope for something like that in the future, because I think Cena would be perfect in that role. Like, I'm not a huge fan of his ring work or the character as a wrestler, but as someone who would be a driving force to create, you know, matches and things like that, like, he would be a great, like, GM or whatever, I think. And I really thought or hoped that that's what they were going to do. And then, yeah, we got the Authority coming back so soon, and Cena is, like, I mean, he's that guy. Like, I mean, they're going to have to do something with him, like you say, but I don't know. Y'all say he's got all this wrestling time ahead of him, and I can see that, you know, from a physical standpoint, but career-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to just keep going and going and going as a wrestler. Like, they could fabricate an injury. They could fabricate any sort of story they wanted. They could say Vince comes back and he gives the company to Triple H, but the last thing he does is he signs a X amount of year contract with John Cena as the head booking guy. You know, I mean, something just crazy like that. I don't know, but I don't want to.
Well, I think one thing that'll happen here in the next 5 years is that I think in the next 5 years you'll have someone take Punk's modern day reign, because they're not going to want Punk to have it for.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know, so
They've got to
that
get rid
takes
of
the
that.
belt off the
Yeah.
plate for
Roman.
for like
Year
a year
and
and
a
a
half,
half, you know, stuff like that. I don't know if it'll be Roman, because I still don't think I don't think he's gonna last his chant. But I think that WWE is gonna be looking to do that, take Punk's modern day, because you have to call Punk the modern day, like the longest modern day reigning champion, and he's probably never coming back, and he's
coming back.
He's burned a ton
He's
of
coming
bridges.
back. You shut your mouth.
Coming back.
It's all a work. It's all a work.
But I hope so. I hope this is all part of like Vince McMahon's long-term plan here. So the ending, we kind of discussed a little bit. The Rock obviously was already on call to save Reigns from this, and he couldn't even do it. Even The Rock can't do it, which again should make you kind of go, should rethink this. You shouldn't like egotistically go, no, we're sticking with the Reigns. At this point, your most charismatic guy ever can't get people to root for this dude. But also, the ending was bad in a Kane Big Show or Final
Yeah,
Four.
no, that was an awful finish.
Yeah, Kane and Big Show, two guys. One should, by all intents and purposes, be super retired. Big Show, he physically
Well, they both
can't.
should.
Yeah,
Honestly.
Kane should definitely go down. His character's been tarnished beyond repair at this point. And now that we have two Kanes, with Corporate Kane and Evil Kane, I
Demon
guess.
Kane.
Yeah, Demon Kane. Yeah. By no means should be anywhere near the Final Four. That should have been reserved for Ziggler and Bryan, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if you're going to push your future stuff,
Yeah.
it should have been Ambrose.
Wyatt.
Ambrose was in the Final
You know what? Y'all say that, but it would have been fine to have them in the Final Four because of the way they did it. As if they would have, I mean, if they're going to go, if you're going to commit and go with Reigns, if they would have just had Reigns finish strong,
Exactly.
like
Yes.
just kick their asses, like all of a sudden, just like have this like Hulk out moment, you know, like something. I mean, even especially if it's something we haven't seen before, just have him have something there.
Well, that was the Rusev part.
And
But that
it was
lasted 10
garbage.
seconds.
Rusev part.
It was garbage.
But that's what Roman has.
Like,
A good 10 seconds.
and that sucks, and that's bad. It's because also the guy that he's going over at Mania, apparently, he's got the best booking that anyone's ever had for a solid year of, like, he won't sell finishers that well, but in a good way. Like, it's just he's been built as this unstoppable force, and he's
He
the
pinned
perfect...
Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah, they started by, like, absolutely destroying their biggest legacy at Mania with this guy, which we all hated. This booking's kind of made me come around on it. Like, I hated it, dude. I was so mad. I had to bought
Cory
the
was
network
so
that
upset,
day, and
yeah.
I almost went home and canceled it. I was like, "F this!" Like, I was so mad.
It's still real.
Yeah, like,
But
This is what happens when
but
you
that's
give
the-
us your money.
that's the thing. Like just like you said, Josh. If they'd have made it instead of Big Show and Kane essentially turning on each other because they're
yeah, he
two
wouldn't
big
have.
dummies.
It wouldn't have won if those two had
Right.
fought each other.
And it could have been, the moment where he fights through the odds and somehow wins, and that would have probably maybe not have stopped the booze, but not made it as ridiculous as it was because it was deafening in there.
Yeah.
And
It
it was
was just exciting.
Once
Yeah.
Ambrose went out, that place went like
Just-
bad.
yeah.
They were done. They were like, no one in this standing in this ring right
'Cause-
now is okay.
Because Ziggler runs out and gets punched in the face by Big Show, and then they just toss him out like a rag doll, and then they toss out Wyatt like a rag doll, and then Dean Ambrose gets the same treatment. You've just eliminated three big names. Just
The Rumble was literally a metaphor for how they treat
yeah,
talent.
it was,
That's
it was
really
a big
was.
it was a big
Straight
middle
up.
finger to all the fans that were there.
And in the smartest city
Yeah.
they could be in, like the smartest fans.
So
And,
maybe you know
Oh,
maybe
this
it
is your
really
favorite
was.
band?
I mean it wasn't an accident. Like regardless of whatever you say about it, like oh this was just a nightmare. This was awful. Whatever. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
We started
it
a
wasn't.
podcast.
It started so this works. It gets people talking. I get it. Like you're kind of convincing me on this conspiracy, but like
Illuminati.
Because they will. They will.
Illuminati.
You got to think of it like a year-long story. You're not going to get your what's it called? Whatever.
Cathartic.
The thing at the
Payoff.
end, the payoff. Yeah, it has a real term. Catharsis. You're not going to get that reaction, until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And WrestleMania is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have it. You're not going to have it at the Royal Rumble. You might get a small story gets paid off there.
Right.
Well, the big stuff happens
true.
at WrestleMania. We're all pissed off right now, but in a month and a half or 2 months or whenever it is, we're all going to be, fuck yeah, that was awesome.
This is like the pinnacle of it's the climax, but not the. It's not.
It's when the villain has prevailed and he's got the guy down.
Right.
And we got to get
Yes.
together and get
Usually
the
the
win.
end of
It
Act
just
Two.
Yes.
it seems like such
There
bad
you go.
business to like
End
seems
of
so
Act
like
Two.
such risky business in your most profitable time of the year to like
That's why I'm here.
and you're obviously been in
Love
the
risky
news.
business, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
Really
a great,
good.
yeah, okay. It's a great movie.
Can we just talk about Tom Cruise?
Yeah,
for a
no,
while?
okay. So this segues into our Tom Cruise part. Who would have been a great champion.
He reminds me of John Cena a lot.
Kind of. But it just seems like such risky business in the sense that your company at this point is kind of relying on this network to do well because you've put everything into it almost, and it's not performed. I guess now they got their Europe numbers and it's on track, but still, till I go, we're gonna piss people off to canceling this thing just to have this catharsis as our new word of the day. At WrestleMania just seems like such crazy risk.
Talking about this conspiracy stuff, that is kind of an interesting thing that they would say, all right, we're going to take off this whole stipulation where you have to have 6-month obligation to the network. They would do that, and then they would have a fiasco where literally just thousands of people supposedly cancel their subscription.
It crashed the
yeah,
you couldn't unsubscribe because it crashed the cancel page.
See, but you don't know that it crashed
Or it
that too.
crashed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Air quotes,
They actually just disabled it on their own website. We're taking away the ability to cancel this.
Seriously, the WWE itself is just playing the biggest heel right now. Just we're gonna piss everyone off.
And somehow they got it to snow. They didn't have to do Raw.
The thing about that Raw though, even though it was just pretty much a re-showing of the Royal Rumble, were the interviews, the promos that were done that night.
Have they ever done anything like that though? We had our first free pay-per-view now.
Yeah.
We've also had them re-air a pay-per-view the next night. I mean, they may have done that before in the past.
I don't think they've done the next night. They used to recut WrestleMania and play it on NBC and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, but it's 6 months down the line. But let's talk about this.
The only other time I've heard of this happening,
Halloween Havoc.
Exactly.
And they've ripped Nitro apart in the Monday Night War thing because they aired a main event the next night for free.
Now the issue with that was because they went over,
and
they had to because nobody saw it. But snowstorm, we can't do anything.
But that should still, everyone that pays their $9.99 should be pissed off. They're no. I deserve to see it because I pay $9.99, but I didn't owe you $9.99 this month because you just played the Rumble, the good parts, the next night. So it just goes back to, because there's always all these people always saying that the WWE is essentially morphing into WCW lately because a lot of these mistakes that you see, because I was a huge fan of Monday Night Wars. So I was watching it all the time on the network for $9.99. That's our endorsement. And you would watch it and you kind of, he's kind of doing that right now, and stuff like that. You'd kind of see it. You just kind of go, Mm-hmm. It's kind of ironic that there's just these things that they're bashing WCW for that they kind of practice. Yeah. And then Havoc was a huge one. They always say that was the night they lost all that money because they had to give everyone. I want $9.99. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I want my check in the mail because you gave away a pay-per-view.
How much is the check?
Huh?
How much?
$9.99.
Doesn't the WWE have a developmental program before NXT? What if the big game plan is to have NXT come up as the rival brand? It's a long shot, but essentially, you're talking about we're at point A to point B, and they might be thinking about Z. If that's going to be the case in the future, that maybe NXT doesn't come up and be a main competitor like they had the Monday Night Wars, but it is a rival faction like you had the brand split. What if they did something like that? You talk about all this stuff, that's all of a sudden you've got Triple H in the WWE who is the authority, and when he goes to NXT, he's freaking God. Everybody even loves him there. It's he walks in that place, and it's oh, hey, boss, how you doing? They're happy to see him. It's a completely different environment. That is very much, in our spot. We know about it. We see those things. So that, again, is part of that new just way of looking at wrestling. And, that very well could be the idea is we're going to make the WWE kind of suck and piss a bunch of people off, but we're going to do some really good stuff in NXT and try and build momentum with it and see where it goes, and we'll have our sports entertainment, and then we'll have our wrestling, and we'll have them eventually feud. We're wrestlers, y'all are sports entertainers, and you have the underdogs, because they love an underdog. They do. The WWE loves an underdog. So what if you have an underdog brand who is saying, we're just as good as you guys, if not better, and that's great. That would be a cool idea. But and then you look at it and you say, well, after a few months, that's gonna just blow up. But
I mean, yeah, because they tried that stuff like the Nexus is basically what you're talking about,
right.
And it lasted until John Cena decided it was done.
Yeah, essentially, it's actually like on record. Like,
it's like I don't want to lose to you, Wade. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I've got some bad news.
That's some bad news.
That's a gimmick was born.
I'm going over to you.
Bad news. That's a good idea.
I'm gonna put that away. Well, okay. I would watch that. By the way, absolutely. I think I've talked in. I got fantasy book with Nick all the time just through text messages, and I think one time I came up with this really elaborate way to like make NXT like the other show over SmackDown. I was like, cancel SmackDown, just make NXT the other brand, and go back to brand split. Where like only 4 times a year do they meet, because I thought I loved the brand split.
I asked someone the other day, I was like, so since SmackDown's going to Thursday, is it live now? And, the answer was no, obviously. But there's apparently, I mean, that the whole thing with Daniel Bryan, that's apparently like rumblings, is that SmackDown could become a live show. And if it did, like, that would create a whole new element. Like, I mean, it could essentially be, you wouldn't have to do a brand split, but you could definitely, like, have, like, the dudes who, this is my turf, that's your turf, and, they cross paths every once in a while, but they generally stick to their show or whatever. It could be really interesting, really cool. I'm hopeful for the WWE. That's why I say all this stuff, is because I'm like, as awful as the Rumble was, like, I wouldn't go and cancel my subscription right now. I told you guys, I was like, just cancel your subscription, use mine, whatever, because I wanted to show support with all these people who were doing this thing. But then I'm like, yeah, I'll give it to WrestleMania, because that's the end of the story. I mean, why would you, think that something huge and awesome is going to happen at the Rumble? Well, it's because it's happened before. If something good happens at the Rumble, though, something bad's going to happen at WrestleMania, I guess. I don't know.
Who knows?
There's the formula. It's there.
But back to the Rumble. Yeah, we were. There was some weird booking decisions in the entrance as well. We had 3 surprise entrances.
Yeah.
2 awesome, 1 just
no Sheamus.
Weird. Yeah, but we didn't get a return of Sheamus or Orton that was kind of hyped or maybe
because Orton's on the
poster, and that was and he's been doing house shows apparently. So it's
weird.
It's weird that he didn't happen, and there was a lot of guys that I guess they were just like, hey, we haven't put you on TV in a year, so go out there and do your time, you know. And I supposedly that's maybe why Justin Gabriel and the Los Matadors quit, is because their spots maybe got taken by guys like Zack Ryder or Titus O'Neil, and I'd rather go work in Japan too, I guess.
Everybody's hating on the Boogeyman thing, and I liked the interaction between Bray Wyatt.
I thought it was a great spot.
Yeah.
Boogeyman was a good spot, just because it was such a weird dude.
Just a quick glance between the
obviously, two. Yeah, that was kind of a cool moment. But yeah, Zack Ryder, Titus O'Neil, Curtis Axel, still technically in it, and whatnot. And even Eric Rowan going in, that didn't really serve any purpose.
No, because they teased that whole reunion.
There
between
was,
them,
that was an interesting dynamic too, because you didn't really know what that meant fully. I mean, it was almost kind of them just acknowledging each other and being like. We just, I mean, it seemed like they were ganging up 2-on-1, but then it really wasn't that. It was just more of we show each other love through animosity.
It just if anything, it just pushed the Rowan and Harper feud a little bit, because that was really all that happened out of it.
But we got Bubba Ray Dudley, which was pretty exciting, actually.
Gave R-Truth the moment.
We gave R-Truth, we gave R-Truth a little rub. He got to be Devon for the night. I don't know why we couldn't get Devon back, but that was cool. I'm kind of hoping Bubba Ray gets a go.
An extended contract.
Yeah,
because apparently it was just a one-night deal. But
I hope he does. I hope he comes in and wrestles. He's still got I feel a good 2 years left.
I think Devon is still under contract with TNA, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I think that's why he didn't show up. And then seeing DDP at 58 years old,
that was
a good send off for him, I think. So I'm hoping he gets.
I thought he was gonna die.
That one moment he got up and he's like, like cracked his back. He's just like, oh god, I
would
forgot.
do anything to take a diamond cutter from Diamond Dallas Page. And I'm just saying, like, who all did he hit? I know he hit Bray Wyatt.
He got
like,
Stardust.
Stardust, man. Like, just guys that, you know, they knew they weren't even have a shot.
He got Fandango, too, yeah.
That just would have been a highlight.
Yeah.
If they just said, hey, you're going in for like 10 minutes, but you're going to get diamond cutted by like, I'm like, all right, sick. That's better than winning.
This is awesome.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be able to sell it. I'd have been like freaking cheesing out, like just grinning, like, oh my gosh, here it comes. So I was excited, and that seemed like kind of like almost a cool send off for DDP because I think he like broke his back. he got up and kind of like, he was feeling it for a second.
What did you guys think about the promos from last night? They were done at WWE headquarters just to kind of keep something fresh.
Raw got canceled, so they did that. I actually kind of like sat there and thought this is semi-refreshing.
Yeah, it really was.
It was a refreshing Raw kind of in a sense because you know, even though like it would have been a cool Fallout night, and honestly I don't know what they would have done. It was cool that they like referenced that Roman Reigns was universally hated.
Yeah,
I thought that was neat. Like a lot of Vince McMahon's like kind of go-to things is like ignore it, act like it didn't happen. You know, but they were like actually like, so hey, you went over and no one liked it, and they made him talk about it, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, I missed it, but I heard someone talking about something Daniel Bryan, kind of like a shoot interview, like he pretty much was just being candid about some things, like mentioned something about like storylines and
there was actually some like kayfabe breaking throughout the night.
Yeah.
You know, they actually kind of seem to use terms every now and then, whether because I mean, obviously they were like flying by the seat of their pants because they had to put together a weird show.
Even the guy who's interviewing Reigns was just like, you know, there's rumblings that you know the people up top are giving you a push, and it's like
they were saying like it seems like you were handed this, you know, and stuff like that, rather than saying you won and people hate it, you know, like you should in a wrestling interview.
Yeah.
Like they were like, so everybody's saying you were kind of given this victory by the higher ups, and you're like, are you allowed to say that? I mean, I know we're not like in the 80s, but like you're still trying to sell a show.
I don't like going that far. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the most interesting thing. I mean, wrestling is the only thing like it in the world.
Yeah.
It's the last performance art that's major in the world. I mean, real quick, name the number three, third best Broadway actor today. You can't, but you can name.
I knew this.
Neil Patrick Harris.
You can name Ziggler. You can say, "Oh, he's the third best guy, Ziggler," or you know, people do. I mean, maybe not mainstream. Obviously, we can know that, but if you mainstream, people know who John Cena is. People know.
They probably have heard of Daniel Bryan or.
So I mean, but it's weird because it's a quote unquote real sport that's fake. That we know it's fake, and then we hear things about it being fake.
What?
There's so many different layers you can be a fan on.
Right.
Like you can be a fan who just digs through the dirt sheets, you know, and that's amazing.
Right.
It was just scripted athletics. NFL's taking a note from it now. You know, they're hyping up the Super Bowl, making Tom Brady the heel. You know, like, I'm going to watch Super Bowl just because Tom Brady might cheat. Apparently, like,
with a chair.
Like, they're going to do a backstage segment where he's like kind of deflating some balls, like, some footballs over there.
Richard Sherman put on the best promo of 2014.
And Richard Sherman probably cut a promo. Yeah, so like the NFL's becoming great. You know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, they all take books. Entire books. They take the Vince McMahon book and they figured it out. UFC was complete trash until Dana White started doing wrestling promos, basically.
Yeah.
Having these guys get in each other's face.
Bringing in part-timers for his big
stuff.
thing. Like,
Exactly.
it's like, hey, part-timers are huge money, so CM Punk, let's do this.
I just think
CM Punk, come be what you hate. Like, over here, though. He's like, all right.
I think just the thing about, just real quick on those promos last night, I mean, the most interesting one was just Paul Heyman sitting there talking.
Gosh, like winning an Oscar.
The thing about it was,
Honestly.
it kind of felt like something out of the 80s, even though there was some kayfabe breaking and stuff, but it was just so scaled down, and it was just very serious, and the only, like, goofy thing was Dean Ambrose, but he sold it, like, perfectly, just told
Dean
us.
Ambrose is going to be over no matter what happens.
Right, but it was so interesting to me, and just because it was so different and refreshing from normal 20-minute opening of Raw. where Triple H comes
I think
out.
it's refreshing, almost to the extent that if like they announce tomorrow that every post like pay-per-view outside of Mania, obviously you can't like cancel Raw for that one, but I think every post pay-per-view Raw is just going to be interviews and stuff. I was like, I'd be all for it. Like, it gives everyone a night off, you know. And it's just, but like not just doing like obviously like it was cool they played stuff for free that I paid for, but you know, but it'd even be cool if they like went further and like did interviews with guys we don't see all the time. Like, I'd kill to see a Stardust interview at this point.
Yeah.
Well, but they do that though. They have the Raw fallouts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you have to go find it on the YouTube channel and stuff. But if they did make it, if they were to give, I don't know, Raw's 3 hours, and that's entirely too long. If they took 15 minutes and said, okay, we're going to have 3 people who have 5-minute little things, that gets people over.
Yeah.
Because it helped Roman Reigns a lot, I think. And then it also gave a moment for Dean Ambrose, who kind of got shafted during the Rumble. But he was in the Final Four, but he was also thrown out of the toy box like a rag doll. So.
I'm interested how that's going to be. I have to watch Raw on Hulu, so I wonder how they're going to cut all that up for an episode of...
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. Quickly, I'm going to ask some like questions. Who would you have had win the Rumble if you were just booking this?
Ziggler,
okay.
Been the swerve.
Oh, okay. Payton's
he's
really okay.
Payton's
Is Ziggler a pass, or I got to think about it? I can't tell.
I gotta go.
All right.
I think Ziggler. If you're not going to go Bryan, I think that the next best choice was Ziggler.
Taryn, do you have an opinion? Like, did you have a guy that had your favorite costume or something?
Honestly, for like the last half hour, I've been pretending you guys have been talking about like a young adult's novel.
All right. I would have gone Ambrose myself. Ambrose got a huge pop, and I think that would have been a swerve, just considering that everyone was saying, it was going to be Reigns or Bryan, and even I think Ziggler would have been like what everybody said. If it's not one of them,
that's the thing that
it's Ziggler's push.
If it was still going to be Brock holding the title, I would much rather see Ziggler go and get his ass handed to him at WrestleMania than Ambrose. Because if Ambrose did it, it would just make him look weak. If Ziggler did it, it makes him look like he
would sell the crap out of it.
Yeah. He would go into it just doing like knowing like I'm probably completely outmatched. He would sell it really well. I mean, he would probably have a decent match. It would probably be close to a squash match. It would piss everyone off, and it would be great. It would be awesome, and it would be another like Cena moment. Except, it's like we gave you guys what you wanted. Like you guys have been wanting, Bryan or Ziggler,
right?
Whatever. If they did that with Ambrose, though, I don't think that it would have played out as well because for Ambrose, I think it would have had to have been. Like he went in there and was like, the crazy guy. Maybe he could get the upper hand on
well, that's
Brock
why I
for a
liked it.
little
It seemed like it would be a good match because his character's just like nuts enough to go in there and take that beating, but not stay down.
Yeah.
That's why I would have gone.
I
think
can
Ambrose
see
would have
that.
been a good Mania opponent. I think Reigns will be an interesting.
When Ambrose makes it to the main event of WrestleMania, though, I think it's going to have to be something like. I don't know.
It'll probably be like here in the next year, like a triple threat.
He's got
Shield
brothers. He's got too many ties with if especially if all this plays out with Reigns, where he ends up being like a top dog with a belt. And, I could see Ambrose going up against Reigns or something. That would be cool, especially if they were amicable about it. Like I think that is.
He'll probably slow burn. Ambrose.
I think that's something that we're kind of missing in this era is we rarely have the like face versus face unless it's freaking John Cena. Mm-hmm. Like I would love to see two like friends have a few. Anyway, your choice.
Trying to think about it all and thinking because the biggest thing about this is usually cosmetically because now you're looking at posters and stuff, and I don't see. I mean, it just had to be Roman. It just had to. Bryan looks too small. Ambrose looks too small. Ziggler looks too small. And they haven't been booked for an entire year. I mean, if you were to say, okay, how does the Ziggler
Big Show could have won it.
Yeah, sure. But I mean,
oh my gosh, they would have burned Philadelphia to the
more
ground.
I mean, you have more stuff coming up because if Roman wins, he beats Lesnar, and then who's going to be his number one guy he's going to fight? More than likely, the guy who broke up the Shield. You got Rollins, you got the Money in the Bank. We'll have something at WrestleMania. Because there's on the site last night, it was just awesome. They're like, Roman's fighting Lesnar, it's all not going bad, and then Ambrose comes in to help, because that's like some no DQ thing. And then like the Shield kind of reunite. Rollins comes out there, and it looks like he's going to turn, but they end up doing the Shield powerbomb to Lesnar. 1, 2, 3. Roman wins. Confetti falls. Money in the Bank cash in. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Confetti falls. I mean, he's the one. If you give it to Roman, because WWE's the best at telling the story after it happened.
Yeah.
Then he's the one.
Main event.
I know, right? He's the one who beat the 1 and 1 and 21.
Right.
Roman is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the. If you want to say he's our future for the next 10 years, he has to win this match at WrestleMania in the main event.
I like yours because then it means that like Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns all beat the 1.
I know.
It puts them all over. I like yours. Yeah,
the Shield should never broken up.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
That one. That thing.
That
you did
one.
right there.
I'm all that one. I want you to go that one.
You win.
And then, okay, my last question is, so what do y'all think, like, WrestleMania 31 is looking like right now? Because it seems really, like, it seems weird to me, because obviously they're going Lesnar Reigns, they're not even acknowledging Fastlane as being able to sort of, other than you have, like, kind of this clever title theory, which,
Well, they did the same thing last year with I don't even, Batista, well, and all that stuff. I mean, even after all that was said and done, it still got changed.
Yeah, it got changed a little bit.
Stipulations, triple threat, blah, blah, I don't know.
But you obviously Cena doesn't have anywhere. Rollins, Ziggler, Ambrose, and they're all like, obviously these are all guys that are like talking about WrestleMania, like they're going to be there. But it seems kind of like a lot of them, they're just going to have to like make something up real quick, like do like real quick. Like a lot of them don't have a lot of.
Well, there's
heat
like
with anyone.
Rusev and Ryback. Their feud kind of just disappears. So
Well, because they're going to give Cena a reason,
right, and they could.
Why would you want to put over some new guy like?
But they
Ryback?
announced that Cena and Rusev are going against each other at Fastlane.
Which again, I hope Rusev goes over Cena.
And then apparently, via Twitter, Triple H called out Sting and like challenged him for like a confrontation.
At Fastlane, that's the only thing we know about Fastlane.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't even think about it. I was just thinking about what they're going to do with Daniel. What are they doing with Rollins?
Yeah.
What's Rollins doing at main
my theory is Orton.
Yeah.
It's either Orton or Ziggler.
Yeah.
And as much as I would like to see a Daniel Bryan Ziggler match, I would much rather see a Ziggler Rollins match.
That'd be really good.
Because they could both kill each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll both.
That would
crazy
just be a
too.
ridiculous match on that kind of stage. Like it would steal the show for sure.
Yeah, if they did like a ladder match for the Money in the Bank case or something like that, because Rollins can't have a match at WrestleMania just a match. Someone's going to challenge him for his briefcase.
Yeah.
It's happened before. I think that's where it's going to go for that. Someone's going to fight him for the briefcase, and that could always be to trump up the sleeve. It's like, and then like, oh, we don't like what's happening, cash in.
Yeah. Like my biggest fear is Ambrose, because he's the
he
guy that's really replaced CM Punk in my heart. Is Ambrose? Ambrose has kind of taken that spot that CM Punk left. So Ambrose is I just because they actually put Ambrose on Raw last night, kind of in a weird comedic thing, but he gave us a short promo and pretty much saying like I'm going to WrestleMania, so that's interesting. We don't know where he's going
Or who he's facing.
So what's Bray Wyatt doing?
Yeah,
we still have a lot of very condensed amount of time to figure out what all these major players are running.
And then you have to fit him around, obviously, like the part-time match of
Sting.
Triple H
and his Undertaker coming back.
Bray Wyatt is the one that's got all the rumblings about Undertaker, you know. And me and Nick were talking about that today, like who goes over, because it almost hurts Bray if he doesn't go over, unless it's just like a great match that like. And Undertaker's good at making people look good in defeat, you know. Like CM Punk came out looking great when he did it, you know, and stuff like that. So I would honestly say Undertaker needs to go over that. Because there's still all those rumblings that Undertaker's going out at 32 because it's in his home state. That's where he's going to hang it up. But who knows? 32 or 31 just looks really like it's interesting not to see that much story already kind of in motion. I guess it just seems odd that normally by now at least you kind of are aware of some feuds and where it's going, but you really only have like a couple of ideas. So
Yeah. Because last year's, as much as it was kind of weird and stuff, you had it started from SummerSlam. Daniel Bryan gets pedigreed after winning the thing, and then who does he wrestle WrestleMania? The guy who pedigreed him, Triple H, and then the guy who pinned him after that, Randy Orton. So you had 6 to 7 months of build, and this one's happening in 2 months.
Yeah, and
there's no long term.
Most of the card's going to be built within this too much span. I would say the one positive that's come out of this though is with Reigns kind of give it, like going to the top, being pushed to the top, is that like I think a lot of these dudes are going to aim to steal. Mm-hmm. So I think you'll have a really strong undercard. Essentially, it's even going to be. It's going to be hard to like go anywhere near the Sting match just based on the fact that seeing Sting in that capacity is going to be nuts. Even if it sucks, it's just going to be nuts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's crazy. But I think that's probably a good place to end it on this one because we did tear the Rumble apart. We are wrestling fans, so we complain on the internet. That's what we do. So until next week, I think a future topic that I'm definitely going to make us talk about is the network and how it affects the product as a whole. If it affects it negatively or positively, because the network does seem to now have almost a huge impact on how they book things.
Yeah.
So I think that'll probably be the big topic of next week. So tune in then whenever these things get released. Taryn, our guy that was really quiet, he's our editor.
I have no idea what to do with this. Movies, I know what we're talking about.
We want wrestling theme music whenever we talk. So make that happen.
We need a little catchphrase that we say at the end.
Oh.
Like, this is the podcast of 1,004 moves or whatever it is.
We need
tapping out.
Armbar.
Armbar.
Armbar. All right. That's how we're ending it. Armbar.
Armbar.